events for the 2025 Rogue Invitational are out.
Yay, we've been waiting for this. Now we can talk properly about the competition.
We can, obviously. Yes. It's important to know the events. When you're doing predictions, when you're getting excited for a competition, it's one thing having the athletes. We got the athletes a while ago, but now we know the events too. We can get deep into who we think can win, who we think will do well on each event, and just have some fun building up to the Rogue Invitational.
Get deep into overthinking it. So event number 1 then, they are starting with a max axle deadlift. Now this is an elevated deadlift from 18 inches, and in typical Rogue style, it will be raw in as much as they cannot wear a deadlift suit or power shorts or briefs or whatever they're bloody called, and also they can't use figure of 8 straps. It must be figure of 6.
Yeah, that's an interesting factor, particularly with an axle. Mm-hmm. Axle much trickier without figure of 8, so interesting ruling there. Yes. We have some great deadlifters in both the men's and the women's competition.
You know what we should have done? We should be running through the athlete list first. Shall we quickly do that?
Do it.
So on the men's side, we have the returning champion Mitchell Hooper. We have Tom Stoltman, Thor Bjornsson, Rayno Now, Trey Mitchell, Thomas Evans, Lucas Hatton, Austin Andrade, Evan Singleton and Paddy Haynes. And then on the women's side, we have Rebecca Roberts, Ines Carrasquillo, Olga Lyshuk, Lucy Underdown, Angelica Jardine, Andrea Thompson, Jennifer Lyle, Melissa Peacock, Hannah Lindsay and Samantha Beliveau.
Great lineups on both sides, some great deadlifters on both sides.
Indeed.
And the people that stand out straight away, you're thinking about Thor Bjornsson on any type of deadlift. However, 18-inch deadlift, not the same as a deadlift from the floor.
It's true. Now, the last time he did a max elevated deadlifting competition was at WUS, and he tied for first place, I want to say, with JF Caron. So it was a few years ago.
Going back a fair few years.
Yeah.
And different to an axle deadlift as well.
Yes, true.
But yeah, I mean, Thor's a great deadlifter. I think someone that we should really look out for on this is Trey Mitchell.
Yes.
Trey winning the elevated deadlift at World's Strongest Man this year. He is exceptional at any height, but particularly when it comes to a raw deadlifter, that suits Trey.
Yes, and second to him at the World's Strongest Man final in the deadlift with 490 kilos was Rayno Now. Now, this wasn't an axle, however, everyone, including equipment people at World's Strongest Man, said it was a much stiffer bar than the one they used in 2020 when Alexei Novikov broke the world record there.
Yes, absolutely. And someone I think this type of deadlift will suit, although maybe not known as the biggest deadlifter in the world, I think this particular setup suits Lucas Hatton.
Yes, yeah. If they're going to have a max raw deadlift, Lucas has said himself this is the best height for him.
Absolutely. Being shorter, he can get that leg power that he's got into it, whereas some of the taller guys, this hits the back instantly and they can't get that leg drive in. So actually for some athletes, it feels a bit more awkward. For Lucas, and dare I say, athletes that are squat like he is, they can generate so much leg power. The bar is almost over the knee straight away. That makes a big difference. And I think Lucas could lift some big numbers.
Let's go through the list. Who else is squat in this competition, Lozzie? Name your squat athletes.
Well, no one's more squat than Lucas in this lineup.
To be fair. But actually, maybe Austin.
Austin, yeah.
A little bit squat.
Little bit squat. Not quite a squat, but no. Yes, big leg power and someone like Austin.
Yeah.
But I really do think Lucas couldn't have asked for a better deadlift in this comp.
Now, on the women's side, harder to predict and compare because we don't normally see this deadlift from the women, to be honest.
I'll put my neck out there, and I do expect Andrea to be really good at this type of deadlift. She was very good at the Hummer tire deadlift a couple of years ago at the Arnold's. She is a more squat type athlete. We're talking about Lucas. We can't leave the women out. Andrea is built like that, very, very powerful in the back and legs. And she's a great deadlifter anyway. So yes, you'd expect her to do well. I expect Lucy to be awesome at any type of deadlift. She's got unbelievable back power. But those two would be my favourites, if I'm totally honest.
They'd be my favourites too. But I think people that could give them a little bit of a chase, I guess, is Olga Lyshuk and also Jennifer Lyle, who's very impressive at the Arnold's this year.
Absolutely.
So just to be clear about it, there are quite a few set weight jumps, and the athletes get 3 lifts.
That is an interesting factor. It's something that I enjoy. I know some athletes don't enjoy it because it brings tactics into play. But that's competition, and you have to be smart and get the right numbers to get the most out of yourself. So event number 2 this year is going to be the Viking Press.
Interesting, because last year in the group stages of World's Strongest Man 2024, they did a Viking Press. So a lot of the guys in this competition, we have comparable results. Not completely comparable, because sometimes you only need to do what you need to do to win, but still interesting nonetheless, I think. So Austin Andrade got 10 reps on that setup. We have Mitch and Tom Stoltman both getting 14 reps. Evan Singleton and Trey Mitchell both with 16, but Thomas Evans stand out on his own with 17 reps.
Yeah, Thomas Evans did really well on the overhead last year.
He's very good. He's just good overhead. He's
coming off a great result at the Strongest Man on Earth. He is a threat on any event like this. Yeah. Trey Mitchell, again, will be someone to look at. And again, Lucas Hatton's name has to come out.
Yes.
Lucas, we haven't seen on a Viking Press in modern competition. But he is unbelievable at any overhead.
He is. Like, you wouldn't bet against him on any type of overhead. I don't care if they're doing it from racks, cleaning it, if it's a log, if it's a tree. I just think he could lift anything overhead.
If it's overhead, he's involved.
Yeah. The women's side is very interesting, because the last time we saw like the top pro women do a Viking pressing competition, well, we had it at the Arnold's in 2022, back before it was the Arnold Strong Woman Classic. Sure. It was run by Strongman Corp. But we had it at World's Strongest Woman in, I think, 21. Mm-hmm. And there Andrea Thompson won. Inez Carrasquillo was close, but Rebecca Roberts was very good at Viking press, like comparative to, say, a log press or something like that.
It's Rebecca's favourite overhead. However, I would still say that I think Andrea and Inez would be the top 2 in my opinion. I mean, Inez's progress the last couple of years has just been crazy.
Yeah.
She
looks like a tank right now.
She is looking like a tank.
Like an actual tank.
Yeah, Andrea really loves any type of overhead where really you don't have to worry too much about conditioning, because you're not having to clean every rep.
Yeah.
She can just use that tricep and shoulder power. They'd be my 2 favourites, but yes, I can see Rebecca doing well on this one.
We don't know the details yet. Like, are they allowed to rest? Sometimes at World's Strongest Man, they let them rest it down. A lot of competitions don't allow that, and once it goes down, you're out. So how much does that affect results, do you think?
Not a huge amount. I mean, it can help you get out an extra rep or 2 if you're smart and know how to use the time, but essentially it doesn't make that much difference.
No, the strongest presses will still
they should do.
Through, yeah.
So event number 3 is returning from last year. It's the Yoke Escalator.
Yeah, so just as a reminder, this was the yoke run into the power stairs. Now, it had mixed reviews, but I loved this, because it was a proper race with loads of people going at the same time.
I think we had like 5 at a time.
Yeah, I believe it was 5.
It did look visually pretty cool. You had to kind of like keep your eye on what was going on.
Yeah.
But we had to remember there's the buzzer to hit as well when we have road competition, so athletes need to think of these things as well. But it was quite cool just seeing the foot race of everyone on the yoke and then kind of head to head going up the steps.
It just makes it easier to compare how good people are against each other. Now, when they did this last year, Mitch Hooper won and Evan Singleton was second. He was only about a second behind him, but then it was quite a jump between them and everyone else. So then you had Thomas Evans, then Thor, then Tom Stoltman, all within a second of each other. So it was quite close behind the leading pack.
I'd still put money on Evan Singleton and Mitch Hooper taking the top spots on this event. They're both extremely quick when it comes to a yoke. I think if everything is the same as last year, if weights aren't changed, they're both pretty quick on power stairs and when you're coming in with that advantage off the yoke, unless it's super heavy, they're hard to slow down. It's
interesting though, because like you say, you can't afford to be slowed down too much by the yoke, but there are some guys that are much better at power stairs than the yoke, and I'm thinking of Paddy. He's good at power stairs. Yoke, he's maybe average in this lineup.
I actually think guys like Thor and Tom would benefit from the power stairs being super heavy.
Yeah.
Because they would probably be my picks if it was really, really heavy, big steps. But I don't think it's going to be too heavy. So I just think that speed off the yoke will carry through for the likes of Evan Singleton and Mitch Hooper.
Okay. So interestingly, on the women's side, it was the lighter athletes that did really well on this event. So Sam Bellevue won it with Melissa Peacock in second, and then you had some of the usual suspects behind them. So Inez was in third place, Olga in fourth.
Yeah, Sam and Mel both absolutely smashed this last year. Both fast, both athletic, and put in great performances. Again, I think if it was much, much heavier, maybe some of the really strong women would come through, but I think that athleticism and Rogue like that suits athletes that are quick.
Yeah, it's interesting because if you just look at the yoke aspect, I'd put Rebecca and Andrea as probably the top two, but you throw in the power stairs element and it can change everything.
It really can. Yeah. So moving on, we have the Circus Press Medley, which is very similar to the overhead medley they had last year.
Yes.
Kettlebell into a dumbbell into axle for reps. Last year, I believe we had two axles.
Yeah.
This time they're doing axle for reps at the end.
Yeah, last year it was 2 set weights. This year it is for reps, max reps at the end. And in the event of a tie, they'll use split times, which I think is a very interesting factor to consider because, you know, you might not want to be too careful and considered if it means less points.
It's also good to try and split points up, I think, as much as you can.
I think so too, yeah. We don't want too many ties. But last year this event was won by Luke Stoltman, and I believe it was only Luke and Mitch to finish all of the both of the axles. And then behind them you had Tom Stoltman did very well. I think Thor Bjornsson was fourth.
Thor surprised a lot of people on this last year,
yeah.
But again, we do have some names coming back. I think this is the event I think Thomas Evans got injured on last year.
Actually, I think he injured himself on the Inverstones.
Maybe earlier. So he didn't get the chance to do maybe as well as he could on an event like this. Lucas Hatton, we have to talk about this type of event, just suits him perfectly.
I think so too. And also last year we didn't have Trey Mitchell, and I expect Trey to do very, very well here.
A lot of athletes that could do well on this.
So on the women's side, we had Ines Carrasquillo winning. Then we had Angelica in second place. I believe Olga was in third, Hannah Lindsay in fourth, and Sam in fifth. Hannah Lindsay's an interesting one because she hasn't competed since then. So
it's going to be interesting what kind of shape she's in.
Yeah.
The interesting thing last year, the kettlebell caught a lot of women out. Massively. I think they've all been putting a lot more work into that this year, so I think it will come down more to the axle, which is the heavier implement. But some interesting results. I think some of the athletes that we mentioned on the Viking Press that aren't in there could do well if they've put the work into those first few awkward objects. Another similar event that we had last year is the power drive. We've dropped an implement from this one, so it's just going to be pushing the power drive and then into the arm over arm.
Yeah, so last year they had a Husfeld sandbag carry in the middle there. And last year, only 4 athletes managed to finish this event. And they were Tom Stoltman, Mitch, Thor, and Pavlo Cordiaca.
Yeah. So no Pavlo competing this year. I think someone like Rain O'Neill could like this event.
Well, if you remember the first event at World's Strongest Man this year, granted it was different, but it was a Zercher carry into an arm over arm. He absolutely blitzed it. So I'm excited to see him on this. I think Paddy will be good at this also.
I agree. I'm excited to see the likes of Paddy and Reno in this competition and see how they mix things up. A little bit different to an Arnold, but a little bit different to a World's Strongest Man as well. It's almost like combining the two.
Yeah.
Could be an interesting one where we look at the overall results.
It's interesting. I think Paddy and Reno are going to be in a very similar position in this because they've got similar strengths and they've got similar weaknesses, and there's 2 overheads in this competition. However, both of them very smart and determined athletes who find ways to get points in those weaker events. So
they're professional. They've put the work into training. So it's why it's exciting. We love to talk about what we think will happen, but we never know exactly what's going to happen, and that's the beauty of sport.
If I was to say Lucas Hatton might have a weak event in this competition, I think this would probably be it. Historically, looking at his arm over arm results, not great.
And I think that's a fair comment there.
And I only would single out Lucas because I think he's a serious contender for the overall win.
I would agree with you. He's looking great. The events look good for him, and I guess the other athletes are going to look at this as the event that they need to capitalise.
They need to beat him. And hope other people get in between them as well. So it was a similar story on the women's side last year, only 4 athletes finishing it. And it was won by Lucy Underdown. Nice to see her take the win there.
Yeah, and again, I could see similar results again.
Yeah.
Strong, powerful athletes.
Well, it was the big powerhouses. Yeah, it was, because Olga was second, Inez was third, and Rebecca Roberts was fourth.
Yeah, you need that long range on the arm over arms, the body weight and the size to push.
Yeah.
Powerful athletes. So the final event is the Mons Meg Stones. Now, what I can gather, this is essentially a natural stone, no tacky allowed, loading event.
It is, yeah. So the athletes have 4 stones to load, and they will be running them into barrels, and it's like a descending distance, I guess. So it's like 12 feet, 9 feet, 6 feet, 3 feet as the weights get heavier. Now, it's not completely dissimilar to the Inverstones that we had last year. There were 5 stones there, not so much of a run-in, and only 4 athletes managed to finish all 5 stones. The event was won by Thor Bjornsson. Mitch Hooper was in second place, then it was Tom Stoltman. It was Pablo Cordiaca was the other athlete to finish, yeah. But some athletes I expect to do well here. We've got some great stone lifters. Austin Andrade, Trey Mitchell, of course, and I think Paddy, again, is going to be good at this. Reno too.
I think Thor is always hard. Like, for me, Thor is the man when it comes to stones.
Yeah, and I think watching him at Iceland's Strongest Man, I think that's the last time we saw him do a stone run. Like, Paddy put in a great, like, Paddy's a fast, good stone lifter. But then Thor beat him by like 5 seconds. I don't know, it's his kit, whatever.
But the thing with Thor, it doesn't seem to matter what stones you throw at him. He's just naturally very good, strong. It almost loads them. You wouldn't necessarily teach people to load the way he does, but it just works for him, and he's just so confident in the movement. So I think he'll be very hard to beat on stones. However, really good lineup of lifters, and again, last event comes down to who wants it the most. Many factors. How beat up are you at that point? I don't put too much predictions into stones because there are so many factors that come into play at that point in a competition.
So on the women's side of it last year, again, if we look at the Inverstones, there were once again 4 women that finished, and it was won by Inez, then it was Olga, Angelica, and Rebecca Roberts. So repeats in names.
Yeah, the names that you expect to be in there, you know, all very powerful, all strong at stone lifting. There's a couple of other athletes that you could throw into the mix.
Chip in,
I think could well be very similar in terms of results this year. However, as I just mentioned on the men's side, what position people are in, all those things have a factor when it comes to the last event in a competition.
So do you like the events?
I do. I think I think Rogue do a great job of just focusing on putting on their own great show. One big show a year, make it as good as they can. Prize money is looking at, I think it's $108,000 at the moment for winners of each competition. That should increase as we get closer and closer to the competition. It is the biggest payday in Strongman by a mile for the women, and it's still the biggest payday for the men as well. Every year they try to make it bigger and better. The lineups on both sides look fantastic. I'm hoping everyone comes in fit and in shape. It'll be an exciting show. Mitch is coming back from his little bit of time off. Thor, we haven't seen really compete in a full comp.
He did
Iceland's. He just did. He just but what I'm talking about is like the majors. Since the Arnolds, we haven't seen him.
It's true,
Again, we've got so many big names in this. So this is an exciting one for me, where you've got like Evan Singleton's been on a rampage recently, doing really well. You've got Rain O'Neill actually prepared for a competition, because obviously he prepared amazingly for Worlds, won Worlds, but then he had a lot to do. Wasn't as good as maybe, you know, he was competing in Giants Lives and other shows where he didn't have the chance to prep properly. Mitch had a bit of, you know, a spell where he wasn't doing so well. Now where everyone's coming back
and they've had the time
to prep, it's going to be an exciting one, and hard to pick a winner. I mean, there's a number of guys that I think can win this. I think if I was going to chuck a top 3 in there, it would be Thor, Mitch, and Lucas. But there's names I wouldn't be surprised to see on that podium.
Yeah, Evan, Trey, Reno. It's really hard because, like you were saying, It's the first time we've seen Thor in a major since the Arnolds. And I feel like the Arnolds was the last time we saw most of these top names together, with one or two exceptions. Reno and Paddy obviously weren't there. World's Strongest Man final is always very odd because you get massive names missing from it because of the group stages and the format there. So it is interesting. I'm excited to see how it goes down. Like, sometimes on paper you'll look at events and say that's great for that person, but is it when they're up against all these other people?
And it's performing on the day as well.
Exactly, yeah. Everything going right on the day.
How about the women's side? You got any early predictions for that?
If you put a gun to my head, I'd say Ines Carrasquillo wins.
I think she's the favourite.
I think she has to be the favourite. She's the reigning champion. She's the reigning Arnold's champion. She's looking beefier than ever. She's just that woman is I say this with love and affection. She's a complete freak, isn't she?
She is.
Absolute freak.
Anything can happen, as we say many, many times. Going to be an amazing show. We'll look forward to the build-up, watching what the athletes are doing as they get closer and closer. Biggest payday in the sport, last major of the year. We have to get excited for it.